Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Before I even begin, I need to take a second. I need to make sure I don't cry before I even get the first word out. Because this isn't just a story. This is my life, this is my miracle, and it was nearly destroyed by the very people who were supposed to celebrate with me. Today, I'm going to tell you how my SIL, let's call her Jessica, though that's not her real name, spent 9 months trying to suffocate me. 9 months of stealing my joy, my name, and my sanity. But this isn't just a story of a victim. No, this is a story of a reckoning. Because what Jessica didn't know, what she couldn't possibly imagine, was that I was quietly collecting every single piece of evidence. And when the moment was right, I didn't just expose her. I annihilated her entire, manufactured reality in front of the people she valued most. This story is long, it is messy, and it's going to make your blood boil. But the ending. The ending is the single most satisfying moment of my entire life. So, grab some popcorn, sit down, because we need to talk about what happens when you mistake my silence for weakness. To understand why Jessica's betrayal hit me like a train, you first have to understand what it took to get here. When my husband, Mark, and I got married 5 years ago, we were ready to start a family immediately. We thought it would be easy. We thought it would just happen. It didn't. 1 year went by, then 2, then 3. Our world became a series of cycles. Cycle after cycle of hope, then devastating disappointment. The doctors, the endless tests, the unexplained infertility. The word itself felt like a curse. It was a dark, suffocating fog. We watched our friends, our peers, even my own brother and Jessica start their families. Mark and I. We felt left behind, trapped in a timeless void of longing. Unless you've lived through it, you cannot know the specific, sharp pain of seeing another negative test. It wasn't just a dot of plastic, it was a physical blow. It was the crushing weight of a future that felt increasingly out of reach. We spent thousands. We did IVF. We were broken, both financially and emotionally. And through it all, there was Jessica. Jessica is a competitive person. No, that's an understatement. Jessica is a toxic vortex. If you had a headache, she had a migraine. If you got a new car, she was already leasing the upgraded model. If you were happy, she was ecstatic. If you were sad, her world was ending. And her target? It was always me. While I was going through my treatments, Jessica would make comments. "Oh, it just happened so easily for me," she'd say, rubbing her own belly at family dinners, her gaze fixed on me. She'd offer unsolicited, toxic advice. You know, if you just stopped thinking about it and relaxed. Sarah looks back at the camera with a wry smile. Yeah, because stress causes a medical condition. Mark and I were private about our journey. It was our battle. We didn't share it with the whole world. But Jessica, she smelled blood in the water. She knew this was my deepest vulnerability, and she poked it every chance she got. She would talk about her kids, about her struggles as a mom, which were usually about finding the right preschool, and then she'd look at me with this pitying, saintly expression. "I just can't imagine not having my babies." "I don't know how you do it, Sarah." She knew exactly how she did it. She knew she was hurting me. That was the point. It was her way of keeping me below her, of maintaining her status as the superior, fulfilled woman in the family. She fed on my silence. Then it happened. The fog finally lifted. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning. Cycle 7 of IVF. I didn't even want to check. I was so prepared for failure, I had a plan. I'd check the test, and then I'd go to the spa to cry for 4 hours. I walked into the bathroom. I glanced at the test. 2 lines. I think I stopped breathing. I grabbed my eyes, certain I was hallucinating. I wasn't. They were faint, but they were there. For the first time in 5 years, they were there. I don't remember crying, I just remember shaking. I ran out to the garden where Mark was, and I couldn't even say it. I just showed him. We collapsed into each other. We didn't even celebrate, we just held each other, terrified and grateful and utterly undone. This was it. This was our child. We were so careful. We told no one for the first trimester. It was our secret, our precious, fragile gift. We wanted to protect it from everything. Most of all, we wanted to protect it from Jessica. We made it past 12 weeks. Everything was perfect. The heartbeat was a symphony. The scans were beautiful. Finally, we were ready to tell the family. My parents were having a big 4th of July barbecue. We decided it was the perfect time. The whole extended family would be there. It would be a moment of pure, unified joy. We imagined the tears of happiness, the hugs from my parents, the relief in everyone's eyes. We had it all planned. My mom, dad, brother, and his wife Jessica. We gathered everyone in the living room under the pretense of a family photo. Mark and I stood in the middle, and on the count of 3, we pulled out the tiny, custom-made onesie we'd kept hidden. "We're having a baby." The room froze. Then, the explosion of joy we'd dreamed of. My mom was sobbing and clutching my arm. My dad looked 10 years younger. My brother was beaming, pumping Mark's hand. We were being drowned in congratulations and happiness. It was the happiest moment of my life, for exactly 3 minutes. And then, above the clamor, a voice shrilled. A voice that instantly turned the warm air of the room to ice. "Wait, everyone wait. You're not going to believe this." Jessica stepped directly in front of me and Mark, physically pushing my mother out of the way. She had a look on her face I will never forget. It was a manic smile, her eyes wide, locked onto the entire room like a hunter. She was holding up a white envelope. "This is unbelievable. Sarah, I can't believe we're doing this together again. We're pregnant too." She did it right there. In the exact moment that belonged to us, the moment we had fought 5 years for. She didn't offer a single word of congratulations to me. She didn't even look at me. She just announced her own, miraculous, concurrent pregnancy. My world shattered. Not because she was pregnant. If it had been real, I would have been happy for my brother. No, it shattered because of the timing. She had been sitting on this news all evening, waiting for the precise moment to make it about her. My parents, in mid-celebration, turned to her, their faces confused, their joy instantly diluted. "Wait, Jessica," my brother stuttered. He looked completely caught off guard. He hadn't known. "Wait, we are." "Yes." "Oh my God, honey, I was going to tell you later tonight." But when Sarah announced, I just knew I had to share our joy too. She was already rubbing her stomach, though there was nothing there. "This is just fate." The conversation shifted. My mother, bless her, tried to bring it back to me, but Jessica was a black hole of attention. She started details on her morning sickness, her cravings, how this pregnancy was already so much more intense than her first. Within 5 minutes, she was comparing my actual, measurable, doctor-confirmed pregnancy to her theoretical one. She monopolized every question, every congratulations. But the final blow hadn't landed yet. My mom turned back to me, her eyes full of gentle sadness for what was being lost. "Sarah, sweetheart," she said softly, "I know it's early, but have you guys thought of names? We can talk about it later if you're not ready." I looked at Mark. We were ready. We'd known the name for 4 years. It was the name that kept us going. It was perfect. "Yes, we do," I said, a little louder this time, trying to reclaim some space. "For a girl, we love Evelyn me." Evelyn, after Mark's late mother, who had been a second mom to me. It was a sacred, perfect name. The words had barely left my lips. "Oh God," Jessica screamed, clasping her hands over her mouth. Her eyes were wide, and for the first time I saw it, the true, monstrous joy of a successful theft. "This is destiny, that's our name. Evelyn, we already decided. Since Mark is the only son of Evelyn, it's only right that our child carries her name. We've always said it." It was a lie, a bold-faced, instantaneous, vicious lie. My brother hadn't moved. Mark was vibrating with a rage I had never seen from him. And I was just empty. I stared at her, this person who had just reached into my soul and taken my most precious possession, and smiled as she did it. We drove home in silence. I didn't cry. I didn't have the energy. I felt scooped out. She didn't just take my spotlight, she took my child's name. A name that was chosen to honor a beloved woman, a name that was my only connection to Mark's late mother. "She's lying," Mark said, his voice trembling. "They never said that. She took that name the second you said it." "It doesn't matter," I whispered. "She claimed it. If we use it now, we're the copycats. We're the people causing family drama." "She knows that. That was the whole point." That night, my husband and I made a promise. We would not let her win. But for the next 6 months, the battlefield belonged to her. You have no idea what it's like to live inside someone else's manufactured reality. For the next 2 trimesters, Jessica turned my life into a living hell. This wasn't just attention-seeking. This was full-blown psychological warfare. I, a woman actually pregnant for the first time, was experiencing it. My body was changing. The exhaustion was real. The fears were real. The joy was real. But everything I experienced was immediately mirrored, magnified, and validated only by Jessica. Her social media was an aggressive campaign. She posted daily about her pregnancy journey. "Oh, the morning sickness is brutal today." She'd caption a photo of her looking glowing and perfect, but with a dramatic pout. I, meanwhile, was actually puking my guts out every morning, too exhausted to brush my hair, let alone style a photo shoot. She'd post pictures of her bump, which, for months, looked like a large burrito at best. But the comments were a sea of, "You look amazing, Jessica. Pregnancy looks so good on you." A text overlay shows Sarah's thought, "Well, it's not real." Every family gathering was a spectacle of Jessica's needs. She became the most fragile, high-maintenance woman on earth. She couldn't sit in that chair. She had to have this drink. Her blood sugar was always crashing. She demanded to be waited on by everyone, but especially me. She'd make passive-aggressive comments about my size. "Oh, Sarah, you are just popping. Your body is really embracing the changes." Translate, "You look huge compared to me." She would constantly talk about her and me as if we were a pair. Us pregnant mamas, we are going to be such a mess by December. But there was always a catch. She was always the one doing it better, doing it more naturally, doing it with more grace. But the real, deep cruelty was the stolen name. She would not stop talking about little Evelyn. She bought custom monogrammed things with E on them and posted photos. She'd look at me with a fake, empathetic smile. "It must be so hard, Sarah, knowing the name you loved is already taken, but you'll find something." Okay. I was drowning in a sea of her lies. Mark was furious, but I begged him to hold it together. "We can't fight this. We look crazy if we call her out. Everyone thinks we're just jealous." We were isolated, trapped in our own home, our beautiful, miraculous journey tainted by this continuous, draining spectacle. I was at my lowest point around 28 weeks. I was huge, I was tired, and I felt so small. It felt like I was disappearing, while this caricature of me was growing louder and more dominant by the day. And then, I was scrolling through her Instagram. She had just posted an update. "Finally, our baby girl or boy is growing. Look at that tiny nose. Baby Evelyn so excited, my baby." Below the caption was a photo. An ultrasound, a black and white image of a perfect, tiny profile. I stared at it. It looked so perfect, so textbook, so flawless. My ultrasounds were always a little fuzzy, always had some weird shadows. This one looked like it came from a textbook, and that's when I saw it. In the top left corner, right over the date of the scan, in a very pale gray font, so light it was almost invisible unless you were looking. It was a text pattern. A URL. It didn't have her name. It didn't have the hospital. It had the website, www.dreamstime.com. Everything went still. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt. I felt a sudden, profound, crystalline clarity. This was a stock photo. She hadn't been to a doctor. She hadn't seen a heartbeat. She was not pregnant. She was a fraud. A fraud who had stolen my joy, my name, my peace. And she was doing it all with a stolen picture. I didn't tell Mark. Not yet. I had been weak for 6 months. This time, I was going to be strong. This wasn't going to be a whispered conversation or a tearful accusation. No, this was going to be a public, documented, undeniable execution. I needed one more thing. I needed her to do the ultimate act of theft. I needed her to perform. About a week later, Jessica sent the invites. A joint gender reveal party. Her idea, obviously. A celebration of our little miracles. I accepted immediately. She was overjoyed. "We are going to have the best party, Sarah. We're going to find out together." I knew she wasn't pregnant, which meant this reveal would be a stage play. I knew how she'd play it. My actual reveal, we'd found out early via NIPT, was already scheduled with our family separately. Her party, that was going to be her big climactic scene. The party arrived. Our entire extended family, some of our close friends, the room was packed. Jessica was the centerpiece, holding court. She had a massive, elaborate cake, purchased, naturally, because she was too tired to bake. The moment of the reveal arrived. The crowd gathered around the table. Jessica and her husband, my poor, clueless brother, stood behind the cake. She was vibrating with performative anticipation. "Okay, everyone," she announced, her voice cracking with fake emotion. "This is it, the moment we find out who is inside." She grabbed the knife. Everyone was holding their breath. I was holding mine too, but for a very different reason. She cut the cake. A single, wide smile spread across her face as she lifted the slice. Pink. It was pink. A perfect, artificial, stolen shade of pink. "It's a girl," she screamed, dropping the knife, her eyes wide with fake, joyful tears. She grabbed my brother, who looked shell-shocked. "It's Evelyn me, our baby girl. I knew it. Thank you, God." I let the cheers last for 10 seconds. Maybe 15. I watched her bask in the validation she craved like air. I watched my parents congratulate her, their faces finally breaking with unconflicted joy, because, of course, they thought it was real. I stepped forward. "Jessica," I said, my voice was calm. It was not loud, but it was the only sound in the room. She froze. The performative tears stopped. Her husband, mid-cheer, turned to look at me. Everyone was looking at me. I was 33 weeks pregnant, large, and holding a heavy package. "Wait, Jessica, honey, stop celebrating for just a second." I walked directly into the center of the space, placing myself between her and the crowd. I was at my maximum physical size, and I felt powerful for the first time in 9 months. "Since you've decided to be so open with your whole journey, and you finally have a girl, I have a gift for you." I knew I needed a presentation that matched her ego. I wanted everyone to see it. "Mark and I wanted to give you something to help you remember this whole wonderful experience. It's a tribute to your little Evelyn me." I didn't hand her the gift. I didn't let her take it. Instead, with a single sharp motion, I grabbed the paper at the very top, and I tore it all the way down the middle. The paper fell to the floor. And there it was, but it wasn't just the photo. Across the top, I had used a massive, bold, all-caps font. "Stock photo 452,145. Across the bottom, where her name and date should be, I had replaced the stock ID with the text, www.dreamstime.com/free-pregnancy-scans, and I had printed 3 more. I dropped them, like oversized playing cards, right onto the table next to her half-eaten gender reveal cake. One showed the original stock image page. Another showed the specific fetal development section. A third showed the stock company's usage rights. The silence in that room, I can still feel it. It was the sound of air being sucked out of a vacuum. Jessica's face went past pale. It went gray. Her mouth was open, but no sound came out. She stared at the poster, at her own stock ID, at the text. The perfect, smiling, fraudulent profile of the baby she had just claimed as her own was blown up to the size of a movie poster. Mark's father looked at the poster, then at Jessica. "What is this?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "What is this, Jessica?" I didn't answer for her, I answered for me. "That," I said, my voice echoing in the dead air, "is the photo you used, Jessica. You posted this 2 months ago. It's not your baby. It's a stock image I found online. You didn't buy it. You just screenshotted it, watermarks and all. This isn't your pregnancy. This isn't your journey. It's a lie." The realization hit the room. My mother gasped, a sound of profound heartbreak. My brother, my own brother, stepped away from his wife. He looked at her like she was a stranger. "Is that true, Jessica?" he asked, his voice cracked. But I wasn't done. The name was mine. "And as for the name," I continued, turning to the family, "Mark and I chose Evelyn me 4 years ago. Jessica, you knew that. The second I said it at the barbecue, you knew. You claimed it to hurt me. To take the only name I ever wanted. And this," I said, holding my hand on my actual, moving, living daughter inside me, "this is our daughter. Her name is Evelyn me, and her birthday is not up for negotiation. Not ever again." I didn't wait for her to defend herself. I didn't wait for her to start screaming. I turned, took Mark's hand, and we walked. We walked past the shocked, crying family, past the ruins of the cake, past the poster of her lies. We left the party. We left her in the middle of the wreckage of her own creation. The aftermath was a hurricane. She claimed I photoshopped the poster. She claimed I was stalking her. She claimed her real ultrasound was lost. But it didn't work. The evidence was too massive, too public. The entire family, even her parents, saw the truth. The competitive, toxic facade was over. Her husband left her for 6 months to figure things out. My parents haven't spoken to her since. She has lost her position as the centerpiece of the family, replaced by a profound and earned pity. Her social media went dark. And me. I just had my baby girl, Evelyn Me, and she is perfect. The name is sacred and it belongs to her. I tell you this story not to be malicious, but to remind you, silence is not surrender, patience is a weapon. And sometimes, the most effective revenge is simply handing someone the truth about who they are, and making sure everyone else is in the room to see it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to go hold my baby now.